The Mandela Effect is emerging as the foremost paranormal phenomena of the moment. Although the internet term was coined by paranormal enthusiast Fiona Broome in 2010, the Mandela Effect can be more formally defined as a form of confabulation, a psychiatric term used to describe the disturbance of memory. Many people, mostly total strangers, claim to remember the exact same events with the exact same details. However, these events never happened. At least not according to history books, newspaper archives, and, most bizarrely, most of the population. Yet many of the things which people claim to be examples of the Mandela Effect simply aren't. Alleged changes to the names of food products or film titles can be attributed most simply to misremembering of spelling or grammar, especially in cases where our brain is trying to make sense of something it perceives as illogical or inherently incorrect. Or, in the worst instances, a Mandela Effect may be incorrectly perceived simply because of poor research. So, in an attempt to get to the heart of this mystery, we have chosen what we believe to be 3 of the best and most detailed examples of the Mandela Effect. The origin of the term Mandela Effect comes from the iconic figure himself, Nelson Mandela. This is in reference to the large and growing community of people who are certain that the South African anti-apartheid revolutionary Nelson Mandela died whilst in prison in the 1980s, and not in 2013 as the history books would have it. These memories are reported as being incredibly vivid and laden with detail. Many remember ongoing funeral coverage in the aftermath of his alleged passing, with people citing CNN and other news outlets. I also remember reading the newspaper and all the hoopla about Nelson Mandela dying on TV. I remember the banners at his funeral. I am an adult and take such history seriously. When he was released from prison, I was flabbergasted. Yet the detail does not end with his funeral. Many people report that they remember a court case after his death, surrounding a dispute with his widow over the rights to a book deal. They even detailed charity concerts, an Oprah special on television, and even of ensuing civil unrest in South Africa. A common detail which many people claim to recall is the symbol of solidarity which celebrities created by wearing Mandela's prison number after his death. The frequency of the claims of Mandela's 1980s death can, in part, be explained away by poor education. As some people state that they were taught Nelson Mandela had died during history classes in the 1990s, it could be that they were simply misinformed by teachers. Furthermore, the possibility that news outlets incorrectly reported Mandela's death at the time should be considered. Indeed, even more recently, news is often misreported, even by larger news corporations. For example, how Fox News misreported that the UK had voted to leave the UN rather than the EU. A momentary blunder by even a local news channel could have caused profound knock-on effects for decades to come. That being said, the level of detail with which people assert they remember Mandela's death is hard to dismiss. The founder of MandelaEffect.com, Fiona Broome, has spent several years gathering people's personal testimonies and recollections, all of which are available on her website. These statements help to illustrate an astonishing level of detail and surety. Both my wife and I remember Nelson Mandela dying in prison. Included in this memory are the funeral snippets on TV and a legal flap over book rights involving his widow. I remember Nelson Mandela dying in prison. I remember events after he died, like a really big Oprah episode, concerts in his memory, celebrities all wearing his prison numbers, etc. I remember Mandela's funeral being on the news in the UK in the late 80s. At the time, I was just a kid, and I didn't have a clue who Mandela was. Some people have even attempted to cite Mandela's cause of death, with one commenter stating, "I very clearly recall Mandela dying of something like dysentery in prison from the horrible living conditions present in the South African prison system in either 1984 or 1985. Another testimony gives the year as 1985, specifying that Mandela had died of tuberculosis. Bizarrely, Nelson Mandela, in reality, did contract tuberculosis in 1988 due to the dark, damp conditions of his prison cell. Some who support the Mandela Effect have theorized that this could have been the moment when a timeline diverged. In one version of events, Mandela survived, and in the other, he died. Another alleged Mandela effect are mystifying changes to biblical passages. Many Christians with intimate knowledge of the Bible have expressed bewilderment at their inexplicable misremembering of certain well-known passages. In the King James Version of the Bible, the book of Isaiah chapter 11 verse 6 is often cited as an example. In this verse, several pairs of animals are mentioned, amongst them the leopard and the kid. However, it is the first pair which has caused much confusion, due to the claim that one of the animals mentioned has changed to another. The passage with the disputed animal reads as follows. What do you think the missing animal is? Whilst many believe that it should correctly read, "The lion shall also dwell with the lamb," in reality the biblical passage states that it is the wolf who shall dwell with the lamb. For those who have taken the time to commit this passage to memory, the reference to a wolf instead of a lion is wholly unintelligible. Even those within ecclesiastical institutions incorrectly remember the verse. In February 2016, a Reddit user with the screen name Warsane described how they visited 3 local churches in order to question pastors about the changes to the passage. According to their post, none of the 3 pastors they spoke with recalled a wolf being in the verse. They also explained how one of the office ladies I talked to whilst waiting to see one of the pastors was so sure I was wrong, she scrambled to break out her mother's old Bible from the 1940s and had that bewildered look on her face when she read the verse. Christians are becoming increasingly worried about what this passage change means. Certainly, the metaphorical meaning of a lion lying with a lamb completely morphs once that lion is substituted for a wolf. What was once an image of a mighty and noble predator protecting the weak becomes something crafty and suspicious, a wolf in sheep's clothing. For some Christians looking to explain this puzzle, allusions to the arrival of the Antichrist have been made. A further perplexing element is the readiness with which one can find religious imagery of a lion and a lamb together. Why is this the case when the passage refers to a wolf? Certainly, those who attended Christian schools and Sunday schools as children are adamant that they remember artwork on the walls depicting a lion and a lamb. With emphasis on memorization of biblical passages being so common at the more fundamentalist of churches and religious schools, it is truly bizarre to think that so many Christians are reimagining the verse. And it seems as though there may be some evidence which supports people remembering of a lion. In the 1941 biography film Sergeant York, a character is shown reading Isaiah 11:6 from a Bible.
Sure be much obliged if I could have a cup of water.
Got some nip inside it.
Well, that'd go mighty good.
I'll be getting it.
And the lion shall lie down with the lamb.
Gaining traction in recent months to become possibly the most widely believed case of the Mandela Effect is the shared recollection of a children's film from the 1990s titled Shazam, in which the comedian Sinbad portrayed a genie. In spite of Sinbad's repeated denials of the movie's existence, an ever-growing community of people are adamant that the movie Shazam once existed. Even within the past few days, someone has come forward claiming to have played the role of a taxi driver in this mysterious film. In fact, the reality of this non-existent film is so strongly asserted that details of its plot and characters have been posted online by bewildered would-be viewers. One Reddit user, who adopts the Scream name Epic Journeyman, describes how he managed a video rental store at the time of Shazam's alleged release. In his post, he stated that the film plot involved two children, an early teen boy and his younger sister, who enlist the help of a genie, played by Sinbad, in order to restore love to their single-parent father's life. What follows is a comedic tale set in a domestic environment, which makes use of the typical genie lore of the granting of 3 wishes. The final big sequence supposedly takes place at a pool party related to the father's work. Although the poster cannot recall the precise ending of the film, they are certain that it culminates in a habitual, family-friendly happy ending. Does this storyline sound familiar to you? Another astonished Reddit user has described how they and both their parents all recall watching the movie and remember it vividly. They even provide a description of Sinbad's character's appearance, recounting typical genie costume including curly-toed boots, big pants and earrings. Yet, for all of these descriptions and remembrances of Shazam, there is no record of the film's existence. Certainly, skeptics of the Mandela Effect have put forward possible explanations for Shazam, the most notable being a similarly titled film from 1996, Kazam, in which the basketball player Shaquille O'Neal stars as a wannabe rapper genie who teams up with a 12-year-old boy named Max. Although the premise of the film sounds familiar, if not identical, to the alleged Shazam movie, many assert that they distinctly remember Kazam as a separate film. In addition to this, some have pointed to Sinbad's guest appearance in a 1996 episode of Nickelodeon's All That, when he starred as Sinbu, father to the series' bizarre Ishbu character. Whilst portraying the father of a foreign exchange student whose customs were rather unusual to Americans, Sinbad's costume in this sketch could explain the mistaken recollections of him appearing as a genie. Other possible mix-ups include the 1939 DC comic book superhero Captain Marvel, who was also known by the name Shazam, as well as the children's animated show Shazam, produced by Hanna-Barbera Productions in 1967. Featured in reruns on the Cartoon Network channel from 1992 to the year 2000, the episodes follow the adventures of, you've guessed it, 2 siblings who befriend an all-powerful, wish-granting genie called Shazam. Although alternative explanations have been put forward, the original dilemma remains. A growing multitude of people have come forward specifically claiming to remember Sinbad starring in a genie film. And it may just be that a cryptic lead to the elusive Shazam movie has been uncovered. During a 1992 episode of a popular sitcom, the character of Freddy, played by actress Cree Summer, is trying to hide the scarf which she has knitted for her boyfriend Shazza Zulu from her friends. In order to distract attention from what the S and the Z on the scarf symbolize, she says that the scarf with an SZ could be for someone who loves Shazam.
Who would knit a scarf with the initials SZ on it?
Someone who loves Shazam!
As a laugh track follows, it suggests that the audience would have understood the reference and have found it humorous. Bizarrely, Sinbad starred alongside Cree Summer in this very TV show, until only the year before this episode, 1991. His co-stars and writers presumably would have known where Sinbad was heading in his career, suggesting that the Shazam reference could have been to Sinbad's upcoming children's film. Yet, the most bizarre and ironic twist to this quandary is the name of the TV show. It seems that the only remaining reference to the non-existent Shazam film is in a different world. If you would like to see us do a video about possible theories and explanations of the Mandela Effect, please leave a like and comment below.